Thunder rumbles, lightning cracks across a dark Texas sky, a distant siren wails. The screen fades from black to drone footage of submerged homes. When we think of Texas, we imagine strength, cowboys riding under a blazing sun, big cities filled with dreams, wide open roads stretching beyond the horizon. But Texas has a dark side, one that comes not with fire, but with water, unforgiving, relentless, deadly, floods. Not just puddles on the pavement, not just waterlogged basements. No, we're talking about city-swallowing, life-ending, history-shaping floods. And they've happened here, again and again. Today we take you on a journey through the top 10 deadliest floods in Texas history. 10 moments when the skies broke open and Texas drowned. Stay with us. What you're about to hear is terrifying, but every second is true. It was supposed to be a night of family, food, and celebration. Memorial Day 2015. But for thousands of Houston residents, it became a night of chaos, desperation, and death. Over 11 inches of rain fell in just 6 hours. Highways turned to rivers. People abandoned their cars mid-freeway. Families climbed onto roofs as water crept up staircases. Entire neighborhoods went dark. The city had seen floods before, but this was different. This was swift and unforgiving. 28 lives were lost, some drowned in their own homes, others were swept away in their cars. Over 4,000 homes were destroyed, and the damage totaled nearly $460 million. Houston had become a drowning city overnight, but this was just a warning shot, a hint of what was to come. June 2002. The Texas Hill Country, normally known for its peaceful rivers, winding roads, and quaint towns, suddenly became unrecognizable. In the span of days, over 35 inches of rain fell across the region. The Guadalupe and Medina rivers, once gentle, roared like dragons. Entire campgrounds were swept away in seconds. People screamed for help as the water consumed everything in its path. 12 people died, most of them caught unaware during family outings. Survivors recall the horror of watching loved ones vanish in the current, parents grabbing children only to be pulled apart by nature's fury. Damages crossed $1.2 billion, but the emotional toll, unmeasurable. May 1981. Shoal Creek in Austin was known to overflow, but nobody expected this. Within hours, the small stream turned into a violent wall of water. Streets, parks, homes, all gone. It was sudden, brutal, deadly. 13 people died. The downtown district was submerged, storefronts destroyed, power lines fell into water. The city's heart skipped a beat that night. The Shoal Creek flood left damages estimated at $36 million, a massive figure at the time. But more importantly, it carved fear into the minds of every Austin resident.
I heard screaming, then silence. My husband was gone.
South Texas. Hurricane Beulah made landfall with winds over 130 miles per hour. But it wasn't the wind that caused the most pain, it was the floods. Beulah brought rain for days, flooding towns from Brownsville to Corpus Christi. Nearly every river south of San Antonio overflowed. Over 50 people died. 58 tornadoes were spawned by the storm. The rain refused to stop, crops were destroyed, livestock drowned, roads turned to lakes. In McAllen, families were forced onto rooftops for 4 days without food or clean water. The financial damage? Over $1 billion in today's money. But the loss of life and the psychological scars can't be measured in dollars. Fort Bend County, Brazoria County. The Brazos River, known to rise in storms, decided to rise like never before. Reaching nearly 54 feet, the river broke levees, invaded homes, and shattered the idea of safe ground. Mass evacuations were issued. Over 50,000 residents were affected. Roads were swallowed, schools were closed. But despite efforts, destruction followed. Homes floated down streets, livestock perished in fields. Families lost everything they'd built over generations. Miraculously, thanks to early warnings, the death toll remained low. But the damage? Over $122 million. Entire communities were erased from the map. It was a reminder. Sometimes survival isn't victory, it's just trauma postponed. Let's go back, way back, 1885, Waco. A storm hit central Texas with unrelenting force. Over 20 inches of rain fell in a single night. With no warning systems, no levees, and no radar, people were sitting ducks. Families woke to water, crashing through walls. Streets vanished. Entire homes were lifted from their foundations. More than 40 people died, and countless more lost everything they had. The stories that survive are chilling. A father trying to carry 3 children across a flooded street. None of them made it. A church submerged during Mass. The bodies weren't found for days. Newspapers at the time called it an act of God, but for those left behind it felt more like punishment. San Antonio, 1935. The city had seen rain before, but nothing like this. It began with light showers, then came the downpour. The San Antonio River broke free. A 30-foot wall of water smashed into the city like a freight train. At least 19 people died. Some crushed in their homes, others swept through drainage canals. Over $2.5 million in damage, equivalent to more than $50 million today. But from this disaster came a legacy. San Antonio invested heavily in flood control infrastructure, most famously the River Walk, which now serves not just as a tourist site, but as a powerful flood mitigation system. Sometimes tragedy teaches us how to survive. Tropical storm Allison. It wasn't even a hurricane when it made landfall. But what it lacked in wind, it made up for in water. Allison stalled over Houston and poured its wrath for 5 straight days. Over 40 inches of rain fell. Hospitals were flooded. Emergency rooms were evacuated. Medical labs with years of research were destroyed. Power lines collapsed. People were pulled from windows by helicopter. 23 people died. Damages reached over $9 billion, making it one of the most expensive natural disasters in U.S. history at the time.
A scientist interviewed after the storm said, "We didn't just lose data, we lost decades of cancer research."
Now, let's talk about Thrall. The year was 1921, a sleepy town in central Texas. Nobody was prepared. In just 18 hours, 38 inches of rain fell. That's more than some cities get in an entire year. Water had nowhere to go. It rushed down hills, through streets, into homes. There was no FEMA, no rescue helicopters, no way out. Over 215 people died, mothers, children, farmers, workers. Bodies were found 20 miles downstream. It remains the deadliest non-hurricane flood in U.S. history. Newspapers from the time printed a single headline, "A town washed off the map." Even today, Thrall is remembered not for what it is, but for what it lost. Finally, we come to Harvey. August 2017, Hurricane Harvey slammed into the Texas coast near Rockport, and then it just stayed. For 4 days, Harvey hovered over Houston, dumping over 50 inches of rain, a record-breaking deluge. Streets turned into rivers, highways disappeared, airports shut down, hospitals were underwater. Over 103 people died, some trapped in attics, others electrocuted, a few drowned in vehicles trying to flee, and over 200,000 homes were damaged. The total financial toll? An unfathomable $125 billion, making Harvey the second costliest natural disaster in American history, behind only Hurricane Katrina. But perhaps the most terrifying thing about Harvey was the helplessness. The water kept rising, and rising, and rising. No pumps, no sandbags, no levee could stop it. People clung to rooftops, waving sheets and flashlights, praying that helicopters would see them. Elderly people were rescued from waist-deep water in nursing homes. Newborn babies were lifted through sunroofs. America watched in shock. But Texans, they lived it. And yet, in that darkness, heroes rose. Volunteers with boats, the Cajun Navy, crossed flooded freeways to save strangers. Strangers formed human chains to rescue the elderly, and communities rebuilt, together. But the scars remain. Floods don't just take buildings, they take peace. They take memories, they steal time. In Texas, water doesn't knock, it breaks through, it doesn't ask for permission, it demands everything, and each time, the state survives. But survival comes at a cost. So the next time the rain taps your window, remember these stories, these numbers, these names, because water may be soft, but in Texas it has drowned cities and shattered lives.
If this video moved you, like it, share it. Comment below with your story or memory. And never forget, nature doesn't care how strong you are, but your community, your resilience, and your memory of what happened, that's where the real strength lies.